Hello everyone. Today we are going to practice our listening and speaking skills to improve our pronunciation. I woke up early this morning feeling a bit groggy, but after a hot shower and a cup of coffee, I was ready to take on the day. I work as a graphic designer, so I spent the majority of my morning working on a project for a client. It was a bit challenging, but I love what I do, so it was fun. Around lunchtime, I met up with a friend at a nearby park. We sat on a bench and caught up on life while we munched on sandwiches. It was great to take a break from work and socialize for a bit. After lunch, I headed back to work, but before I could dive back into my project, my boss asked me to join a meeting with a potential new client. I was a bit nervous, but I think I made a good impression. Fingers crossed we get the contract. Finally, it was time to head home. On my way, I stopped by the grocery store to pick up some ingredients for dinner. I'm not the best cook, but I'm trying to improve, so I decided to try a new recipe. Once I got home, I got to work in the kitchen. It was a bit of a disaster at first, but I eventually got the hang of things, and dinner turned out pretty tasty if I do say so myself. After dinner, I spent some time working on personal projects, mostly sketching in my notebook. Then I settled in for the night with a good book, feeling content and accomplished after a productive day. As the night wore on, John found himself getting lost in his book. He had always been an avid reader, and he relished the opportunity to escape into a different world. It was a mystery novel, and he found himself trying to solve the crime alongside the protagonist. Eventually, he realized that it was getting late and that he needed to get some sleep. He closed his book and headed to bed, feeling content and satisfied with his day. The next morning, John woke up feeling well-rested and ready to tackle the day. He had a few errands to run, so he grabbed breakfast on the go and headed out the door. His first stop was the post office. He had a package to mail to a friend who lived across the country. It was a gift for their upcoming birthday, and John was excited to send it off. After the post office, he headed to the bank to deposit his paycheck. As he was leaving, he noticed a flyer for a local charity event. It was a 5K race to raise money for cancer research, and it was being held in just a few weeks. John had always been passionate about supporting charitable causes, so he decided to sign up. With his errands done, John headed back home to work on his design project. He had made good progress the day before, but he still had a lot to do. As he worked, he found himself getting lost in his art. It was a logo for a new restaurant, and he wanted to make sure it was perfect. Around lunchtime, he took a break and decided to go for a run. He was training for the 5K race he had signed up for, and he wanted to get in some extra practice. The sun was shining, and the weather was perfect for a run. After his run, he grabbed a quick lunch and headed back to work. The rest of the day was spent on his project, and by the time he was done, he was exhausted. He decided to treat himself to a movie, so he headed to the theater to see the latest action flick. It was a great way to unwind, and he found himself getting lost in the story. As he left the theater and headed back home, John felt grateful for his busy but fulfilling life. He was excited for the upcoming 5K race and the opportunity to support a good cause. And he was proud of the progress he had made on his design project. Overall, it had been a great few days. The next few days were a blur of work, training runs, and social events. John was busy but happy, and he found himself enjoying every moment. One evening, he attended a networking event for designers in his industry. It was a great opportunity to meet new people and learn about the latest trends in design. He struck up a conversation with a woman named Sarah, who worked at a rival firm. They hit it off immediately, and before he knew it, they had exchanged business cards and made plans to grab lunch later in the week. A few days later, John received an email from his boss congratulating him on his work with the new client. They had signed the contract, and John was thrilled. He had worked hard on the project, and it was great to see his efforts pay off. The following weekend, John participated in the charity 5K race he had signed up for. He had trained hard, and he was excited to see how he would do. The race was a huge success, and John finished in the top 10% of runners. He was proud of his accomplishment and happy to have supported a good cause. Later that weekend, John and Sarah met for lunch. They talked about their work and shared stories about their personal lives. As the conversation flowed, John found himself becoming more and more attracted to Sarah. He wasn't sure if it was just the adrenaline from the race or if there was something more there, but he couldn't deny the chemistry between them. As the days turned into weeks, John and Sarah started spending more time together. They went on runs, tried new restaurants, and explored the city. John found himself falling for her more and more each day. One evening, they were sitting on Sarah's couch, watching a movie. John mustered up the courage to take her hand. She turned to him, and they shared a kiss. It was electric, and John knew then that he was in love. The next few months were a whirlwind of excitement and joy. John and Sarah became inseparable, and they knew that they had found something special. Eventually, John decided to take a risk and start his own design firm. Sarah was supportive and encouraging, and together they worked to make his dream a reality. It was a lot of hard work, but it was worth it. John was finally able to do what he loved and make a living doing it. Looking back on his journey, John felt grateful for all of the ups and downs that had led him to where he was today. He was happy, successful, and in love. And he knew that the future held even more exciting possibilities. As John's design firm grew, he found himself faced with new challenges and opportunities. He was able to hire a small team of talented designers, and together they worked on projects for clients both big and small. John was proud of the work they were doing and the impact they were making in the industry. One day, Sarah surprised John with tickets to Paris for their one-year anniversary. It was a dream come true for John, who had always wanted to visit the City of Light. They spent a week exploring the city, eating croissants, and taking in the sights. It was a magical trip, and John felt closer to Sarah than ever before. When they returned home, John proposed to Sarah in the middle of Central Park. She said yes, and they started planning their wedding. John wanted to make sure it was a day that they would both never forget, and he poured all of his creativity and passion into the planning process. The wedding was a beautiful affair, filled with flowers, music, and joy. John's design skills were on full display, and he received compliments from everyone in attendance. He knew that it was a day that he would cherish for the rest of his life. In the years that followed, John and Sarah started a family and continued to build their business together. They faced challenges, of course, but they always found a way to overcome them. John never forgot the lessons he had learned in the early days of his career: to work hard, stay focused, and take risks when necessary. He knew that those principles had brought him to where he was today, and he was grateful for every step of the journey. As he looked back on his life, John knew that he had been blessed in so many ways. He had found his passion, built a successful career, and created a life filled with love and happiness. And he knew that there was still so much more to look forward to. As John's design firm continued to grow, he began to receive recognition and accolades from his peers and the industry at large. He was invited to speak at conferences and events, and his work was featured in design publications and online forums. He was thrilled to be making a name for himself and to be able to share his passion with others. One day, a major corporation approached John's firm with an opportunity to design a new flagship store. It was a massive project that would require months of work and collaboration with architects, engineers, and construction teams. John knew that it would be a challenge, but he also knew that it was an opportunity he couldn't pass up. He assembled his team, and they set to work. John poured his heart and soul into the project, spending countless hours poring over sketches and blueprints. It was a stressful and demanding process, but John thrived under pressure. He loved the feeling of seeing his vision come to life, and he was proud of the work that they were doing. Finally, the day of the store's grand opening arrived. John and his team were there to witness the culmination of months of hard work. The store was a masterpiece, filled with intricate details and elegant touches. The client was thrilled with the result, and they praised John and his team for their dedication and talent. The success of the store project propelled John's firm to even greater heights. They received more high-profile projects, and their reputation continued to grow. John was grateful for the opportunities that had come his way, but he never lost sight of his passion for design and his commitment to excellence. As he approached his 50th birthday, John knew that he had lived a full and rewarding life. He had built a successful business, found love and happiness with Sarah, and made a difference in the world through his work. He was grateful for every moment and every opportunity, and he knew that there was still so much more he wanted to accomplish. The future was bright, and John was ready for whatever came his way. Thank you for watching the video. I ask that you leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell to be notified when new videos are released.